Hi guys, Patrick here from Wilderness Wisdom. Um, right now, I'm going to go through something that's pretty important to anybody who's going to be interested in heading into the backcountry and anybody that's going to head out to places remote. This isn't a topic for general campers or anything like that. This is for people who are going to go really get out there. Whether it's if you're in the States, whether it's like a national forest or a national park like Yellowstone or some big park like that in Canada. I'd be referring to places like Banff National Park or Algonquin Provincial Park. Those parks are pretty easily accessible, but they are like wide open wilderness areas. And when you're out there, a lot can go wrong, things that are unforeseen. Um, this is kind of what prompted me to start this channel was, my most, probably my best skills when it comes to the bush are survival skills. I'm by no means an expert. I don't think anybody is really a master at it. I think as soon as you start calling yourself an expert, you stop learning. My brother always says that, and I kind of hold true to it. I'm going to kind of do a once over on all my opinions on survival, what it takes to survive. And I'm talking wilderness survival here. I'm not talking urban survival. That's a whole other ball game that I'll leave to smarter people than me. Because in a situation where you're surviving in an urban environment, I'm not going to be around because I'm already going to hightail it out of there. Uh, so to start, there's a lot of people who make references to what are kind of known as bug out bags, which usually consists of an entire backpack, which will have kind of everything that they need to hit the road in an emergency. You know, whether it's some kind of government breakdown or a grid collapse or an invasion or something like that. And people need to bug out and they got everything. It's kind of like a home on your back. That's not what I'm going to be talking about in this video. What I'm going to be talking about is survival kits, kits of different sizes that you can take with you when you are heading out in an area where things may go wrong. For me, that's usually provincial and national parks in Canada or crown land in very remote areas. I have two kits that I consider survival kits. One is what I call my safe bag, and it's simply a green, it's a very unassuming shoulder bag. I'm going to show it to you in a moment with a few different pockets on it. And it's not like by any means a waterproof bag or anything like that. The things that are inside it that need to be kept dry are in their own waterproof bag. Now I have treated it with a waterproof spray, so it's pretty weather resistant. But if I throw it in the lake, the water's going to get into it. But nothing's going to fall out of it, and the things that are in it that need to stay dry are in sealed packages themselves. This is a bag that I take with me wherever I go when it comes to camping or hunting. Um, if I'm hunting on farmland, I'm not going to take a bag like this. But if I was hunting on crown land in a remote area, I would take this with me. If I was camping or canoeing, portaging, um, in any kind of remote area, whether it would be a park or crown land or wherever that might be, if there's any chance that I could be either separated from my canoe, injured and not be able to paddle out, um, stranded by weather, um, people have people have lost their canoes. Camping beside a river, get a torrential rain, the water level rises. You wake up in the morning and there's no more canoe. Situations like that, especially in really remote areas, which people who are watching this video could probably find themselves in. You could end up in these situations. You never know what's going to happen. So, first rule is when I'm out there, even with my life jacket on, I'll have this bag over my shoulder. Um, it's not going to impede my PFD. Um, uh, a little correction there. I shouldn't have cross-referenced PFD with life jacket. They're actually two different things. I'll save that for another video. But if I have my PFD on, I still have this over my shoulder. So if the canoe tips, I go overboard, I still have this bag on me that's going to stay afloat with me. And when I get to shore, it's going to it could save my life. I used to be really obsessed with uh, really small survival kits, um, and I get this from I've some people in my family that were in the military, special forces, and they kind of imparted to me a little bit of knowledge. And uh, an uncle of mine imparted a lot of survival knowledge to me, and he bought for me years and years ago a book. And this was before I had any interest in doing anything like this. This is long before I got interested in survival and bushcraft and things like this. This is long before I got this book. I'm just going to cut back to who I consider the big three of survival. People, at least the big three to me, who have influenced me the most. Those would be Les Stroud, Survivor Man, Ray Mears, Ray Mears Bushcraft, and John Wiseman, who wrote this book, the SAS Survival Handbook. This is an absolute Bible of survival knowledge. It doesn't go into incredible detail on every topic, but that's because there's so many topics in it. It covers almost every aspect of survival that you can think of in broad strokes. But this book is not only what got me into um, wilderness survival, but has taught me absolutely tons. Now, every piece of knowledge that I've learned along the way is not necessarily in this book. It doesn't cover everything. In fact, because it was written by an Englishman, it covers. There's a lot of topics in this book that are very relative to Europe, um, the Eastern Hemisphere, basically. Some of the plant lore and things like that are more European focused than they are North American. But there is still a lot of information in here that could be very useful to somebody who is in a survival situation in North America. Uh, it covers everything from knots, campcraft, knife sharpening, water procurement, fire building, shelter building, hunting, fishing. It even has the chapters at the end that deal with odd situations like avalanche, a flood, being trapped at sea or stuck out at sea. Um, what's another one? Nuclear attack. It even has a section here which explains in rough detail, if you're going to bury yourself under something after a nuclear attack, if whatever you're burying yourself under, whether it be concrete or wood or steel or dirt, how many feet of that you're going to need between yourself and the surface in order to cut radiation down by one half. It's just a wealth of knowledge in this book. I absolutely love it. I recommend it to anybody who's serious about bushcraft or the outdoors. Um, and that's why John Wiseman would be in my top three, because he should be at the top because he was the biggest influence for me. When it comes to survival kits, one of the things that's mentioned in the SAS Survival Handbook is the way the SAS build their survival kits, and they generally do them very, very small, usually in a cigarette tin. Cigarette tin small. Like if you're old enough to remember what cigarette tins look like, they'd be about the size of a cigarette pack, and they were tin, and they would just open up. And within those, you could fit several items. Fishing line, fish hooks, mirror, a button compass. I got a lot of things I put in my survival kit. I got the ideas from that, so I'll save those. But the idea of that is in a military situation where you have literally nothing left on your back. Say you've had to ditch all your gear, and you're simply stuck with this. It'll always be on your belt, on your person. You can, eke out your survival with this little tin. Having said that, because of this book, I became obsessed with these tiny little survival kits, and I made hundreds of them. I packed them into cigarette tins, into card cases. I tried to get them as small as possible. Now, while those are really handy, and I have one that I wear in a tiny little Pelican case, and I always have it on my belt at the back of my pants. I do always have that. It's either there or it's in the front sleeve of my PFD. That's in case for whatever reason I lose my safe bag. That's my survival kit. That's never opened. That's the last line of defense. My first line of defense is my what I call my safe bag, and it's not too big. It's not overly compact, but it's not big either. Like I said, I used to be obsessed with these tiny little kits, and I thought about it, and I'm like, well, when I go into the backcountry, you know, this little tiny kit, I could carry more than that when I'm leaving camp. So I never, if I'm going on a hike, okay, I don't care if I'm on just the same island that I'm camping on, whether I'm an island, mainland, um, even if I'm just taking the canoe out for a little paddle during the day, whether I'm by myself or with people. Um, Once I get to camp, I'll hang it on a tree. I'll make it accessible. It doesn't have to be on my person while I'm in camp and I'm safe. But anytime I leave camp, whether it's, unless I'm just going to the very outskirts of my camp to gather firewood, if I'm going on any kind of a hike, a paddle, if I'm going to walk a portage to another lake, basically anytime I'm on the move away from the rest of my gear, this bag is with me. It's always with me. But as far as the contents of the pack goes, I'm going to show them to you right now. And I'm going to take it out. I'll put them all on the table, and I'll show you exactly what's in my pack and why it's there. So, just got a simple buckle strap. There's a Velcro extra pocket on the front. There's a little loop here for anything that needs to be tethered. Right now I don't really have anything in there that needs to be, but I'm just going to show you the contents of the kit. There's a bit more in here than you'd think or expect. Right on the top, go to tarp. McKinley Sill Tarp. I did a review on it in my other video. This is a great tarp. I think it's I want to say it's 8 by 10, I believe. Lots of guy points on it. So there's shelter. Number one, right there. There's shelter. Number two, goes in every survival kit that I've ever owned. Slingshot. We're going to get to that later because this is a piece of kit that should be in every survival kit. A little knife sharpener. Now it does have a hole because I don't have I just remade this, so I don't have a lanyard in it yet, but that should be lanyarded. If that's a word. So little knife sharpener. I'd rather have my the sharpener that I normally use, but I need that out more often than I need to dig in my survival kit. Number two is right here. Little bag of things. I have a few extras in here that I'll explain later. Cigarette lighter. Number one thing in any survival kit should be a cigarette lighter. It's the easiest way to make fire. Here's a cigarette lighter that is out of fluid, and I'm going to show you how to get that to work. So I'll put those off to the side. These are just Q-tips. The cotton off of them can be used for lighting fires, and they're also good for hygiene, keeping yourself clean. Hand sanitizer. These aren't musts in the survival kit, but I have them in there right now. Hand sanitizer is good for getting pine sap off your hands. It's kind of antiseptic. It's really good for lighting fires as well. So the guts of the kit are in here. Now this is just an old first aid kit bag that I used. I liked it because it was waterproof, so that's kind of what I used for you can use any kind of bag inside. So this one opens up like this, and there's two waterproof bags on either side. Let's show you what's in here. So on side number one, emergency blanket. No survival kit is complete without it. I have used this and they work. Believe me, this can save your life. Usually packs up much smaller. I repacked it and put it in a Ziploc bag. Paracord. Paracord, 150 feet of it. Cannot be understated the importance of that. The paracord with the tarp, you have shelter, you have a tent, essentially. Tampons, courtesy of my girlfriend. I'll get to the importance of these later. You're going to find out that I have a lot of implements in my kit that are for starting fires, and there's a reason for that. 2 tampons. This kit right here is more for search and rescue and protection. It's a bear banger kit. This is given to people who work in the Rocky Mountains and grizzly country. People who do that for a living. And what it has in it, it has a little pen right here. You can see it, and it literally triggers just by pulling back this. Essentially, it works like a center fire rifle. These small ones are flares. They go up really high. I can't remember the exact altitude of them, but it's a standard flare. So this is going to go higher than a Roman candle firework. It's going to be a lot brighter. So you basically take the protective housing off the end. You literally just screw it onto the end of the pen. And once it's on there, you would just simply pull back, let it go. That's your flare. So this, you could hold on to these obviously until if you're waiting somewhere to be rescued, you wait for planes, fire those up. The other thing that comes in this little kit are these. These are bear bangers. It's essentially a really loud firework. Leaves a glowing streak behind it, a big kaboom. They'll scare away every mammal within half a kilometer of you. These, in a severe emergency where I didn't have any other fire lighting implements, I could use these for lighting fire, but that would mean cutting them open, which is dangerous, so we're not going to get into that. But again, they'd be great for protection. You know, if I had a grizzly coming at me and I had nothing else, I'd fire one of these right out. So there's a little kind of search and rescue part of the kit. Bear protection and flares. Now, let's go to the second part of the kit. Some other essentials. Storm-proof matches, which are far better than the just standard waterproof matches that you can get in little boxes, and I'll explain why later. I'm going to actually do a little snippet on how these work and why they are so important to have in your kit. Stay there. Okay. This is a no-brainer. Compass. Have to have it. It's got a magnifying glass on it, so you can use that for lighting fires in the sun. And it's got all the things you need to read bearings off maps. It's got a ruler on it. It's got a hole for a lanyard. Compass. Essential. First aid kit in and of itself. It's a simple one, but it's got everything you need. It's got some surgical tape, some medical scissors, some antiseptic pads, band-aids, some gauze, and some rubber gloves in there as well. So basic first aid kit, pretty important. Normally these would be lanyarded together. They would all be tied together. Some of the things in this kit, they're not right now because I just put it back together. Just a simple little knife, lock blade. It's a good one because I can open it with one hand. It's got a bit of a serration, which I usually don't like for a camp knife, but for survival, you can do a lot of things with it. And it has this front blade area, which I've sharpened to literally a razor's edge. And all knives are, I don't like using knives that don't have holes for lanyards, and this one does. So, little knife. Fishing kit. There's just some sinkers, probably 75 feet of fishing line, some lures, and specifically I'm going to show you the type of line that I put in here is not, as you can see, it's not normal clear filament fishing line. This is spider wire. It's not, there's pros and cons to it. Sometimes people say it doesn't cast very well because it's very heavy, it's woven, but for an emergency piece of fishing line, this stuff is amazing. Pike have a hard time chewing through this wire. It's incredibly strong for the thickness of the test. So you could use this also for a snare. It's just an amazing fishing line. Really, really, really strong. That's what I would recommend for fishing line. So yeah, just I think it's got some a few basic, hooks and simple little lures. Something that's going to attract a fish. Again, fishing, a little compact fishing kit. You can't beat the importance of that in your survival kit. I'll put it right there. Next, Vaseline. You can use Vaseline for a lot of things in a survival situation, but most importantly, you can use it for lighting fire. if I take some of the cotton out of one of the tampons and I rub it in Vaseline and light it, it burns like a torch. So that's in there too. Probably the most important part of the kit, fire steel. Now again, it should have a lanyard on it. It doesn't right now, but these things, this is, I have the knife and serrations I would use for, okay, I've lit hundreds and hundreds of fires with it. And finally, last but not least, another little fire starting kit. They're basically just little wicks you would spread apart. You can buy the wicks separately. These are about used up. Spread them apart a little bit, and it comes with essentially the mechanisms of a Zippo lighter. So there's a little sleeve with flints in there, and it's just a simple little turn, and you have a spark. So why do I have so many different ways to light fire in my kit? Because who knows how long I might be stuck out there, and I never want to run out of matches, or if I lose my fire steel, I want to have just matches. If I lose the matches, I still have the magnifying glass, I still have the lighter, I still have lots of ways to light fire. So that is the guts of my kit. And now I'm going to go over with you exactly why I have each piece in here. I finished this video going over in brief some of the items that were in the kit in a little bit more detail, and the audio didn't really turn out that well. I'm still kind of new at this. I'm used to podcasting where I can just sit back and edit, but for some reason the audio just didn't work. There was a lot of noise in the second half of the video when I did this. So what I've done is I've just decided to reshoot the last half, which is why I'm wearing a different shirt and it's a different day. But yeah, I'm going to go over just a few of the items in my kit that I showed you, and I'm going to show you how they work. Before I do that, I'm going to mention something that I forgot. This is something that is in my kit. It just wasn't in my kit when I recorded the video initially, and it's something that's very important. Right here, it's just a stainless steel mug, and it's got a wire handle, which means that if I'm putting this on a stove or even in a fire to boil water, the handle may get hot, but it'll cool very rapidly, so I'll be able to pick this up. I can dig with this. I can inside the kit itself. One of the things that I advise people to do when they're packing, whether it's a backpack or a survival kit or anything, if you have anything with negative space in it, nest it. So in my case, I would take things out of my kit that will fit in this stainless steel mug, and I'll nest them in there, which will allow me to, economize the space that I have within my kit. So this is something that I didn't mention initially that is in my kit. I'm glad that I'm reshooting this last part, because this is something, if I watched this video, this is something that I would definitely mention. Well, what are you going to boil water in? There's one other item to the kit that I don't have in it at the moment that is in the kind of the micro SAS style kit that I have, that is going to sound kind of strange, but no stranger than the tampons. I keep at least two, this is a very important part, non-lubricated condoms in my survival kit. Why, you may ask? I keep them in there for water collection. If I was to find a stream or a lake or something like that, or even if I was to be able to find a way to collect rainwater, or if I was to make a solar still, which I'll show you how to do in a future video, where are you going to put the water? I mean, this is only going to hold so much, and if I have, say I'm camping far from the water source, how am I going to bring that back to camp? A condom, obviously a non-lubricated one, they will expand to 1,000 times their actual size. It's like a balloon, and if you were to take that, put it in some kind of protective sleeve like a sock or something like that, hold the end open and put it, especially in running water like a river, it will fill up like a balloon. Then you can tie the end off or just hold it. That will allow you to keep water and get it back to camp and actually hold on to it in a travel friendly way. So that's something else that I have. At least I always have it in the kind of the micro kit, and I mean the amount of space that something like that would take up is minimal. So that's another really good thing that you can have in your survival kit for water collection. But yes, stainless steel mug has to be there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through. I'm just going to go through a few items in the kit that I showed you. Not all of them, but I'm going to show you how some of them work. Let's go back into the kit for a second and pull out a couple of things here. First of all, I'm going to show you a little trick that you can use with a lighter that appears to be dead. I did say that this is a very, very important piece to have in any survival kit. It's instant fire. It's the easiest, way to get fire is a lighter. Have a lighter, brand new from the store. Put it in your kit. Keep it there. It's incredibly important. However, I've found lighters. As Les Stroud said many times in Survivor Man, one of the things you can always count on finding is human garbage. It's everywhere. And discarded lighters are no exception. But if you've ever had a lighter that you've been like, this is a bad example, but you flick it, there's just no fluid left in it. You shake it, you can't hear anything. There is a way to get a lighter like that to work, and I'm going to use this as an example. This does have fluid left in it, but if it didn't, it would be a prime example. And the way you do that is simply this. You would take your actual lighter, this lighter that's not working, pull off any childproofing that's on it, because that's going to inhibit the flow of the wheel. And this housing around the outside, this metal housing, rip that off too, and you're going to end up with something that looks a little like this. And if it's a lighter that has an adjustable flame, the first thing you want to do is you want to take that little lever and put it all the way to the max. Okay, because even if a lighter appears empty, there's no liquid fuel left in it, there's still going to be vapor in there. There's still going to be gas in there that you can use to light a flame. The problem is, when a lighter is that empty and it's literally just running on fumes, what happens is the amount of gas that's being put out of the valve is very, very minimal. And simply the action of spinning and then pushing down is going to push too much air through to allow that very small bit of vapor to ignite. What you need to do is depress this first, depress the gas button first, and create a spark with as little motion as possible, so you're not creating a big, kind of a little wind tunnel under there. If you do this, they tend not to work, like if you're as you would normally light a lighter. But if you can find a way, I'll try and do this so you can actually see it, to hold down the button. I'll try and do it like this. Let's see. You can find a way to hold down the button, and then with the other hand, just give a very light spark. With a dead lighter, the flame isn't obviously going to be this high. It may only be at, a quarter centimeter high. But even just a tiny little flame like that, as long as you can find yourself away from the wind, remove the housing, remove the childproofing, hold down the button, and then give a little like that, you'll end up with a very, very small little flame. And that's good enough if you can get it underneath some tinder to get yourself a fire. So there's a little trick with a lighter that might be dead. What's next? We talked about having tampons in your kit. So if you take this tampon, you take the paper off, you pull the little pieces of cardboard off, which are actually quite important, by the way. Even the housing the tampon comes in, you're going to have these two little cardboard sleeves. They can be used for fire lighting. They could be used for, almost anything. Especially this little narrow one, that could be used as a really good way of focusing your breath if you're trying to add oxygen to the bottom of a fire. Might look kind of funny with what I'm using, but it works. When you take the tampon apart, you're going to get something like this. Now I've already kind of broken this apart because in the earlier failed video because of audio, this is, I did this before. But if you look at it and you pull it apart, it's just full of just fluffy cotton, just like off of a ball of cotton. Plus it has a bit of fabric in there, a little, carrier on it. But if you take this, like this is just, you can do this with cotton batting, but I like the tampon thing because it's nice and contained, and you could dip this in, like if you had fluid, like if you had some type of combustible fluid, you could dip it in there. You could make a little torch out of it. It just makes a great fire lighter, and it takes very, very little spark to throw on this to ignite it. I don't need to show you that. Like it's literally the slightest spark from a flint will send this right up in flames. So that's why we have the tampons. The Vaseline. You could take that and you could you basically smear it all over this, and then put it under your tinder, say in damp weather. Light this, and because of the Vaseline, the petroleum, it's going to turn this basically into a candle, and it's going to burn very slowly, and it'll give you a good fire lighting tool. One thing that I did in the previous video that obviously failed, that I'm going to kind of rehash right now, is I wanted to do a comparison on two different pieces of kit that I have in here. So this is going to be, you know, this is partially a gear review. These matches that I had, UCO Stormproof matches. These are fantastic. I showed them to you in the previous video. It's a waterproof case, strikers on the side, but if the striker gets wet, it doesn't matter. So inside, there's cotton, just like in the tampon, like we talked about before. So you have tinder in there, and you have multiple spare strikers, which is very, very important. They even come in their own little bag. Okay, so they're inside. And I'm going to show you why this is important to have a contained kit for stuff like this. Because unlike some products, which seem to be great survival tools like these are Coghlan's waterproof matches. These are, I mean, they're matches. They're wooden matchbox matches. These are highly overrated as a survival tool, and I'm going to show you why. First of all, the striker's on the side of the box. So these are waterproof matches. So this is trying to suggest that if these matches get wet, they'll still work. Problem is, the box is made of cardboard. If this goes into the water, and I'm going to do that right now, I'm going to sacrifice this box of matches to show you how useless these are going to become. So I take my little glass of water here, I'm going to take this box of matches, and I'm going to drop them right in the water. And let's see how good these waterproof matches are. So let's get them good and wet, like I dumped the canoe or something like that. And this pack is just soaked now, okay? I'm going to open it up. Matches are soaked too, you know? Just to be sure, we'll take one of those matches and we'll just throw it right in the cup, okay? So, I'm going to take that match out now. Let's see how good this match lights against a soaking wet box that it came in. Nothing. If this box of matches gets wet, this is useless, okay? The waterproofing on the match itself works, but without a striker, I may as well have a box of toothpicks. And what I'm going to show you now is what a real box of survival matches looks like. So, go back to the UCO matches. Now, even if this got wet and I dump this in the water, it doesn't matter, because inside the waterproof case, there are spare strikers. And I'm going to show you why these matches are so important. Here's the match. And take a look at this compared to the other match. Okay? Pretty different. The main difference is not that the match head is longer, which is what I used to think that was the primary difference. The difference is this match contains magnesium. So it operates in a similar fashion to a road flare. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Let's take this match and do a little demonstration here. I'm going to show you how good these things are. Watch carefully. See a match do this before? Exactly. That's why these are in my kit. These matches can be completely submerged in water. I mean, there's a limit. I'm sure it would eventually go out if I put it in there and just held it there. But that goes to show what certain pieces of technology can do for a simple item in your survival kit. These matches will work virtually anywhere. that you can even literally submerge them in water and pull them out and they will reignite. So very important. Wanted to make sure that I did a little bit of an explanation on that. So I really wanted to show you how important certain aspects of kit are. Specifically these, the stormproof matches. What I missed the first time, which was the obviously stainless steel cup, indispensable. You can boil water on it. So yeah, what I really wanted to show you was the importance of, obviously, I mean, the lighter is self-explanatory, but I did want to show you that even with a lighter that's out of fluid, you can still make fire with that. Very, very important. And as well, the obviously the water, these not waterproof, but these stormproof matches. These things right here, they're just wooden matches. The tips are waterproofed. That's it. Like I said, if this box of matches goes into the water, this is useless. It's absolutely useless. These are not worthy of any survival kit. Coghlan's waterproof matches, whatever. Coghlan's actually makes some pretty good stuff. Pretty good, very simplistic stuff that's pretty generic. It's going to be good no matter who makes it, like emergency blankets, bug nets, like a magnesium block with a flint. Doesn't matter if that gets wet, anybody can make that. It's going to work. But these, yeah, let's just get rid of those. Stick with these. Spend a bit more money and get a pack of stormproof matches with magnesium in them. That's all you need right there. So I hope you enjoyed the video that I put together on my survival kit. Again, I'm going to do another video in the future on my more compact survival kit, the more the military style, really compact emergency kit. But that's what I have in my main shoulder bag that I take with me wherever I go. If you have anything to add yourself, tell me about your survival kit. What do you carry with you? Do you have a compact kit? Do you have like a shoulder bag like I do? Not really interested in hearing about bug out bags yet. I'll do a video on that down the road. But tell me what's in your survival kit. Do you think that there's anything missing from mine? Do you think that, point out any shortcomings. Tell me what's in yours. Start the dialogue. Be polite. I'd be happy to answer. Send me an email, drop a message in the comments. Tell me what you think. If you see something else out there that you think I should watch or you want to recommend to me, by all means, let me know. So, in closing, it was a pleasure to bring you this video again. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you subscribe. I hope you can put up with my early rough cuts. I'm still getting used to doing video here. They'll improve. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe. It'll help me put out more videos. And remember what Kochanski always says, the more you know, the less you carry.